Hey guys, welcome to the NeuroSpicy Table. We are here down one, but plus another. I am one co-host, Emily,
Kelsey?
and welcome, April.
April,
Hello.
yes.
Yay. Do you want to give a little background of you and how Kelsey snagged you?
Oh, well, yes. I got a message and was like, hey, I like da da da. And I was like, oh my gosh, somebody likes me. Oh my gosh. You know how we do, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And so I started my particular page only a couple of months ago, but I've been in that like digital space for a while. I had my personal page and I started we went to Florida this summer and I started, taking videos of my girls and I started creating reels and I was doing it on my personal page and I was just watching them and I was enjoying it. And then I was like, my children are my special interests, right? Over the last, 14 years or whatever. And my daughters, I've just noticed over the last year, because I moved in with my boyfriend. So I was previously married to my ex-wife, which is not something I put on my page. And I was like, maybe I just look like a stuffy housewifey like girl, but I'm really not. Like I'm not. And so anyway, my ex-wife has ADHD. That's a whole nother story, but the house was chaotic. Life was chaotic. Then I have these two kids and now I have sole custody of them. And they're very different and they're very different pieces of me. And, when I moved in with my boyfriend, we had been together for a while and then moved in together and he started to notice certain things. And I was like, when my therapist was saying like, how is everything? I was like, well, I feel like my life is pretty perfect, but my OCD is just like really like quite unmanageable. And then my boyfriend's much older and he just realized one day I was like, I don't know, it was like this like light bulb. I was like going through learning about my daughter with her ABA and I got this book and it was like, visual ABA and it's all very like more holistic in the way that it is with her. And it all just was like one of those things where it just like starts clicking. And I just brought it up to my boyfriend and was like, I think I might be different. And he goes, it was like he just already knew. He was like, well, at least you know, at least you're aware of it. Cause he always is like, that's what he likes about me is that I don't understand, like, I don't play games. I don't understand the man woman roles. And like when we were living in our old place, it was like, this is how you have to behave with other married women. And I was like, why? Like, there's just these like little rules and life rules and things that I've never understood. And I just thought it was because I was like rebellish or something. And then I was like, well, maybe I'm a she, they, like, why do I feel like not girly? And so I was just really trying to like delve in and figure out what's going on. Cause there's a piece of me. So then I brought it up with my mom and my mom's like, oh, she's an MFT. She's like, that sounds interesting. So then a few weeks later, she comes to me and she's like, well, I talked about it with my therapist and I think you should maybe get an evaluation because I think there might be something there. And there's a, being in the 80s, being diagnosed, as you were saying, ADD or ADHD or whatever it is, It was like, oh yeah, she's like this. And then there was nothing. There was no conversation. There was no supports. There was nothing,
They were like, Ritalin, here you go.
And my mom was not going to do that. I was like, I have a lot of like food sense like issues. And my mom just didn't want to like do that. And I was this like scrawny little kid. She's like, I don't want to do that. So I didn't. Right. And then, so I've had all these challenges and I basically am like what you would consider like a failure to thrive. Like I was married and I was a housewife. We lived in Newport Beach. I was like a lesbian housewife in Newport Beach. Like I just, lived my life and had kids. And then I was a mom and I just kind of like didn't fit ever into any work environment and any structured situation. And as I go along, I'm very capable in a lot of ways. And I just like started to see these things. And here I am, like 46, and I'm like, I'm still failure to thrive. Like, is my 14-year-old going to grow up and take care of me? Like, what's happening? Like, as far as like an everyday job situation or whatever.
Yeah.
So, a long story around, my mom said, well, maybe you should go and check it out. Now, look, I totally think that peer or individual diagnosis is fully valid, completely valid.
Mm-hmm.
It truly is. And especially now that I'm reading the Temple Grandin book and what she talks about and how she talked about it, I was like, that's awesome. I totally get that. But, and this is part of what makes me not just ADD or ADHD, is I need to follow rules and I have to have structure. And the idea of just deciding, I'm like, well, no, that's not the way it's done. Like, this is the way it's done. And you do it like this. And then it's not like that. And look, I fully validate anybody's experience in their gender, in their sexuality, in their whatever, their diagnosis, anything. But it's individual, right? And individually. So I sought out, and there was like a very clinical assessment. And then I found somebody who was more of like a holistic, like it's basically conversation and, you know, getting to know yourself through the conversation and all of I've always been extra. I'm too much. I'm too emotional. You smell too many things. You're too overwhelmed. You're too tired. You're too this, you're too that. I've realized my sensory profile situation is what creates that disability, what creates that failure to thrive, right? So, because I go into an office and they have perfumes or this or that or the lights or, you know, the structure. The lights is a huge thing. So that's going to be interesting to find out where you're going. But back to we were talking about, you had asked something about what was your aha or your situation this week with being neurodivergent was being in my during my assessment, my second appointment. She asked me questions where I was like, I did not even realize that. Like, she literally was like, my friend said something and I said, I don't know how I feel right now. I don't know how I'm supposed to react. I just know that I have tension. I don't know what I'm supposed to do except for to like please whoever and do it to make. And she's like, not knowing how you feel in that moment and just pleasing whoever's around you. She's like, this is what she said. And it was literally in the first 5 minutes. And she goes, that's how a lot of autistic people feel. And I was like, oh, thank you. Do we need to have the other 2 appointments? Are we good now?
Okay. Here's your copay. I'm going to go.
I'm good. I got my validation and they, you know, and
it
of course
like Morgan said.
So anyway, that was my whole spiel and my thing and why I do what I do. We could go on forever and ever because I can talk forever. But that was what happened this week. Oh, I can talk forever. It's scary.
We like that.
If you look on the screen, it looks like Morgan said, I'm not going to, Emily, read
it. Yes. And you want to know what's so crazy about that? Okay, I love this, watching her as a child. When I just started her book, it's her second book, and because she writes about thinking in pictures. That was one of her books. In the beginning of this book, it's called the Autistic Brain. I think it's called. I'll have to look. But she was talking about the DSM and what it is, and how her mom treated her, and how she grew up, and then talking about how careful we have to be with our diagnosis. Because the thing is the way that people, and we all know this, especially in not California, but I know in other states, ABA therapy is very restrictive and it's very abusive and it's very scary.
Yes.
It's very traumatizing. So I would like to validate anyone and everyone who experiences that. Yeah. That's not my experience at all. So I
think they're really trying. I know with Jonas's ABA, it was not traumatic at all. So he had a really good time and it really helped him. They weren't trying to put him into a box. They were opening up him to like be outside of the box.
And to also still function in our world. The reason I say I know there's this, because my nephew started ABA therapy and my sister-in-law like 13 years ago, and her mentality about it is polar opposite to mine.
Mhm.
Polar opposite. She has worked just as hard with her son. He is but it's different. And the way she sees it is very
Mhm.
restrictive and very different and very, and that's just how it was. It's not like that anymore. And
Yeah.
I couldn't have done that to my kids. It wouldn't have worked, and I couldn't have had it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. I have two of my actual closest friends are ABA therapists. Well, my one friend Mel was an ABA therapist. Now she's a BCBA. So I like hearing from them like the stigma that comes from like their field, like going to school. And she's like, what we learn in school is nothing to what we do now. Like everything you learn in my job, I learned on the job, because like everything that we learn in the field, like you feel like you're torturing a kid, like in school.
You have
And
to
she's
go
like,
with intuition. Yeah, you have to go
Mhm.
with intuition for sure.
and
people,
it's like
I think
scary.
a lot of people got burnt out from it for that reason.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know that his ABA, like the person, my caseworker, I had 3. So I don't think that place was bad, but it was just people turnover. I saw so many people go in and out of there, and I don't know why. From what I saw, they didn't do like they worked very like we had once a month meetings with at an hour long, and so they would talk to me about what they're doing, and he was doing great, and it wasn't like trauma. They were getting to his level. So I don't understand exactly. I guess maybe people were using that as a stepping stone to go to something more, maybe.
No, it used to be more. So for instance, this is an example. So for instance, if your child, let's say 10 years ago, if your child had a behavior, right? Something that they were doing, let's say avoidant. And the reason I can say that is because that's my go-to. I'm like, bye, peace out, like avoid it. Okay? Avoid the situation, whatever. And I'm cool with that. And that's okay, right?
Yeah.
But imagine being 5 or 6, something like sensory or whatever the situation is, somebody's trying to make you experience it, right? Or trying to put you into a box. So what I understand, what I've seen would be, and what I was coached at one point to do with my daughter, and it would never work, is you take their favorite thing. It's like you take whatever makes them the most comfortable, and they have to earn that back if they fit into the box that you want. And that is very, very, very traumatizing. And that is very much, and when Temple Grandin in the book was talking about it, that's not what she was saying. She was like, it's like her mom knew just inherently how to handle her. It is to be exposed to as many things as possible, to learn skills, to fit in and function in our society. But the way that you function is okay, as long as you can access. It's like special ed. You need to be able to access the world. You need to be able to access your peers. You need to be able to access your education. That's the way it is now. I don't know. I've heard it's different in different states.
I remember being in special ed. So my backstory, and I feel like I haven't gone deep diving into it, is so I was diagnosed dyslexic first. So what happened was they thought I couldn't see, I needed glasses. I go to the eye doctor. They throw me eyeglasses. I get migraines from the glasses because I have 20/20 vision. I go to another eye doctor because my dad's like, obviously that one doesn't know what he's talking about. They say, oh, here, let me go get the child's chart, the pictures. I got them all correct. So they were like, okay, I think, he's like, I'm not the person that can diagnose her with dyslexia, but I think this is what's going on. You should take her to this person. So I then went to, I forget at the time, it was like a school counselor at the time that diagnosed me, because it was early 2000s.
They assess you. They're school psychologists.
Yeah. So I went to a school psychologist. And then they diagnosed me with dyslexia, but they were like, oh, she also has ADHD. This is what else I picked up. So then they put me on meds. It worked. I was okay, but I still was placed into the special education classes. So what they did was
like a full day class or just a pull out?
They pulled me out first. I was failure to thrive with that because I only was getting like an hour. So then they tried, okay, let's just mix her in with so at the time they didn't have like halfway classes. So they
don't have halfway either now.
No. And they mixed me in with like full, with,
it's called STC, special ed day class.
Exactly. So I was with I was the only one that was I was high functioning in that class. So I was getting high functioning.
Yeah, we'll call that low support needs.
Exactly.
There you
low
go.
support needs, high function, but like they were relying on me to help my peers.
This is literally what they were going to do to my daughter, and that's why I'm homeschooling her. What's happening to you? Exactly
what happened to me.
Exactly.
So they relied on me because they didn't have enough staff. So they relied on me to help my peers. So then I was learning stuff that wasn't like to my level. So my dad was at home trying to teach me like my grade level, but my school was not helping me. It was a horrible experience. So then they finally pulled me out and put me back into regular classes. And my dad did like an after school program for like my ADHD, dyslexia. So like I went to a school
sounds like trauma
program.
therapy is necessary.
Yeah.
And I definitely went through it. I had to go through I went through therapy like I forget what it's called, but where they put that like vibrating things in your hands. I forget what it's. I think it's called. No, it's actually like a thing, like a therapist.
No,
like,
they have. It's called EMDR. No,
yes,
might be
yes.
that. Yeah, EMDR is like either eyes or whatever. Yeah, I went through that too, and it helped. Did it help you?
It helped like a lot, especially with like other trauma too. Like it helped so much. The fact like because I feel like how my brain works is like I see in pictures, like you said, and that like when you said that, did you see my eyes light up? Because like that's how
because I do too. Yeah, and my story is so similar to yours with the eyesight thing because I got my paperwork when I was trying to get this evaluation, and I got the paperwork. And my mom's like, I have it, and it was the same thing. It was like, oh, her face is too close to the thing, and and very similar thing except for early 2000s, 15 years before you, but. Yeah. And you got put in an all-day class, and
I'm so thankful for my father that he was like very strong-willed because I mean he was a single-parent household, and at the time like they look at a single father and they're like, oh, I'm glad you're getting by, like at this point, like back in the early 2000s, but and he had a son too. So my brother also has ADHD, but like he was just diagnosed ADHD. I had the dyslexia. So what he did was like he had me read everything. Like I'm sitting at the kitchen table in the morning, I'm reading the cereal box. I'm sitting at like this. I'm in the car. I'm reading signs. And I still to this day, like my friends, like they joke around with me because I'll be in the car and I'll start reading signs like out loud because it's like in my brain. It's like a repetitive. And you've been in the car and I've done it with like I'll just start reading stuff out loud. And it's like a trigger object for me because that's how I learned to like keep myself in motion, like keep my brain working. Which is fascinating because now I read 180 books a year, but
I love that. You know what's so crazy is I hear that so much. People
reading's my favorite thing to do.
There's me too. And I had reading stuff and that they did a similar thing with me and it was eyes and it was this and it was that. And for me, when I look back on it, they were like, and even now I didn't learn like phonics. And even now, if I come across a word that I don't know, I can't sound it out. I don't sound it out. So, but what I did early on, which is like a masking scale, like a fit-in scale, is I was like, well, I like to read. So when I'm reading in my head and I tell my girls this, sometimes I'm like, just read and enjoy reading. And if you don't know a word, just kind of recognize it and move on and then context clues and try to figure out what it was. And maybe you couldn't read it out loud, but and you got to enjoy this story. So my older daughter she's obsessed with K-drama and she was a little behind in her reading. So I said, if you're going to watch K-drama all the time and you're going to whatever, it was when she was online and when she was, because I had to get her back up to speed. And so she was online and she started watching every single K-drama and she does it in subtitles. So she had to read. Her reading skills went up like 2 levels. I was like, so anyone's kids who don't want to because they're interested.
Yeah. I highly recommend and this is what else helped me with my like reading skills is I have a Kindle. So then, like, if I don't understand a word, you can click on it and it pops up like the dictionary and how to pronounce it and what it means under it. So I love that. Love it.
That's amazing.
To the point where like I probably could pull it up on my phone and like even like show you, but it's amazing to the point where like with my dyslexia, like I don't know the word. I click right on it and I'm like learning a whole new word for me. Like
that's called an accommodation.
Yes. And they also have you can change the font. So they have a dyslexic font.
Yeah.
And like I changed the font. Like the second I found that out, I was like, bam.
Yeah, they
These
have.
are the beautiful things. These are the beautiful
Mhm.
things because you're learning what works for you. And when I
Yep.
was able to finally have the internet and have it, I mean, I'm one of those
Yeah.
people who I want to know everything about everything.
Mhm.
And so I'm constantly, and when I ended up with the internet or on my phone, it's like I literally figured out how to get sole custody of my kids without an attorney. It's like, okay, I went from being in school and like not being able to function in school, not being able to learn the way that they taught us, right?
Mhm.
And then being able to go, wait a second, I just learned differently. I need to do it at my own pace, in my own way, and whatever. And like that, you accommodated yourself and found out ways that work for you. And now you're like a ferocious reader. I mean, that's a great story. I like to hear that.
Yeah, and that was the first time I ever talked about it. I feel like I've never like usually we like I kind of stayed on like the ADHD topic or like the autistic topic, and I feel like for a second I'm like, oh, I never really brought up like I am dyslexic. I
Wait
forgot.
a second. That is literally under the umbrella of neurodivergent.
It is.
And your story is so valid. And what's
Mhm.
super cool is that you now are on the other side of being able to say to kids or people who have challenges like, oh, this is what worked for me and that's what worked for me.
Yeah.
And then those were your accommodations. Oh, I love that story.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you found it.
And I feel like it also helps too. Like I'm in the medical field, so I'm a medical assistant, by day job. So like I will even notice like people will be like, sorry, I have ADHD. Like it's really hard for me to like focus while you're like giving me like this information dump that you like.
Verbal.
Like,
verbal.
If you go to a doctor's appointment, like they just dump information on you and then you just, I know myself, I forget it the second I walk out the door. Yeah. So I tell people, I'm like, you are okay to record, like you are allowed to record this appointment. Like this is your appointment. This is your time with the doctor. They are okay with it. Record the appointment. Like get your phone out, get your app on, and then you can listen to it later. Because if you're gonna forget, or I will gladly write everything down for you. Like what you got to do is what you got to do. Like legally, like they're not gonna yell at you for recording your appointment. Like they actually rather you do that because if you have to call back, like that's gonna like take more time in the long run. But like if you're gonna record it, like it's perfect.
They always do printouts for me. They just print like I'll leave the doctor's appointment with like a thick stack. They're like, here.
And then I memorize it and I can tell you what my blood pressure was the last time. And blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Going through pregnancy and getting like, do you have a portal that you can see all your blood work come out and stuff? Like you can see all the
I have
levels?
every single thing. I know every one of my blood levels because I also have Hashimoto. I have a lot of different autoimmune stuff. And then I just had a hysterectomy and I went through all that and that whole thing. And I know everything about my blood work, my girl's blood work, all of it.
Yeah.
It's because it's like, I need to know about everything. Like, right?
People
and then
don't
I need
know
to memorize
this
it.
Yeah.
And there is a link between like neurodivergency and like autoimmune disorders and stuff like that too. There is a link.
Yeah, celiac, Hashimoto's, Ehlers-Danlos, all of it. And somehow it's like that's the other thing is when you put all that together, when I went online, I was like, oh, I'm Instagram diagnosed because I was like, wait a second, if you take this and this and this and this and you put that Venn diagram together, it's all one thing because they tried to say when I was younger that I had bipolar and it's like, well, but but here's the thing. I'm like, okay, I was depressed because I had a shitty situation growing up.
Yes.
And then my 20s were hard. But here's the thing. My boyfriend and I have been together a good amount of time. He's like, I've never even seen you depressed. Like, how is that even possible? Like, I'm like, yeah, the racing thoughts or this or that or the OCD, it was a misdiagnosis because it was the early 2000s. But do you have autoimmune stuff too, Emily?
Oh, Emily, yes.
Yeah, I am psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis.
Oof.
Yeah. I'll be 46 at the end of this month and I already have disc degeneration and an arthritis in my spine, in my lower back. Yeah.
So Morgan's watching us right now while she's working. And she said, this is what she said, currently seeing a rheumatologist and endo because they're trying to figure out what my issues are. My inflammation markers are constantly off the charts.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about those inflammation things and like learning about yourself is like I didn't find out I had Ehlers-Danlos until like 2014 when I had a car accident and it was like, why is she having these problems? And it was diagnosed by a neurologist. And the thing is people weren't talking about it then. And now people are talking about it. And I sometimes just put that like in the back of my mind, right? Yeah. Because that's part of we are what is it? It's like we're gaslighted to think we're crazy because we have all of these diagnoses, right?
Yeah.
And then Morgan's there saying that she has these
Yes.
things, and it's like, well, it's because our
Mhm.
whole system. And I have a friend who's, she does all the holistic healing, and she's a sound healer, and it's like our nerves and all of those things are also connected.
Yes.
So of course we're going to have inflammation, and she's having inflammation, and my daughter has it too. I mean, sometimes it's food. Like, you have to find out what food does it. I can't eat a raisin. I will be the worst pain in my life. And I'm sure you have things. Having your arthritis or specific foods or things that can inflame you.
Well, dairy, like I know for a fact for psoriasis, dairy flares up psoriasis. Well, I'm a dermatologist. I work in dermatology, so.
Oh, okay. Yes.
But I love me some cheese.
Yeah, I know. And for me, like I have PCOS, and then I also, but
so
like,
do I, and that's why I had a hysterectomy. Yay.
Yeah. So,
PCOS,
I have,
yeah.
and then also have what's
Yeah.
called hidradenitis suppurativa, which it's like an inflammatory, like skin inflammatory disease where like you get it under your arms and like place where you sweat. So it, like you get like cystic like cysts to where like it can be so painful like you can't even walk sometimes. Like, and I was diagnosed at 20 because sorry, I got distracted. I saw her thing
Morgan
about
says, I love cheese.
And I was diagnosed after I had to go to 4 dermatologists because they didn't want to diagnose me because I didn't smoke, and I wasn't a smoker, and I didn't hit a certain weight goal. Like you have to be overweight and you have to be a smoker.
Exactly. And then why do they do that? I couldn't have PCOS because I'm thin and because whatever. It's like, well,
I didn't have hair on my chin, which I did, but
which I do now. So hello.
Yeah.
You will.
So Morgan said, I've been begging for a neuro because I feel like a huge part of being accurately diagnosed. I have a full care team that truly believes in NeuroSpicy body. I'm holistic all the way.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I did have a neurologist because after going through fertility, I got chronic migraines because of all of the medication.
Yep.
And then I actually didn't carry my kids. My ex-wife did. And because it just didn't work. And the thing is the neurologist, you have to have a team. Like I have an endocrinologist, a neurologist, a gynecologist. And the thing that it's nice if you can find where they all will work together and look at it. Because a lot of times, it's like saying I have bipolar, ADHD, OCD. It's like, well, wait a second. And then like, having social anxiety and then having anxiety disorder. Well, wait a second. Maybe those are actually all the same thing. Like, but but that's the other thing about the Temple Grandin book she's talking about. She's like, and I've heard this about a lot of people, like the DSM, like any science, things change constantly. So being your own advocate for your inflammation or whatever is paramount.
It is.
So one of the things I was thinking about, because lesbian or former lesbian.
Did you say lesbian? Oh yeah. Lesbian. So I would be what you call pansexual. So
right.
Okay.
When I was in high school, it was because I'm a Gen X. When I was in high school, I was like, well, I'm bisexual because that's all we knew about, right? Yeah. Bisexual in the 90s. And then I was like, well, wait a second. In like my early 20s, I was like, but I'm with transgender people, so that's fine because I'm into whoever, right? Then I'm married to like a blonde, blue-eyed woman for 12 years, and now I have a boyfriend who's 70. Like, and then I was with a guy who had tattoos and I'm like, I like anybody. I don't care your age. I don't care anything.
Yeah. See, I'm wondering if that is also one of the neurodivergent
traits.
Is. Yeah.
It is.
Because I feel like everybody's a little bit fluid in this thought process.
Yeah, because it's that whole thing about like being open-minded. Our brains, I think because of going into the human design and also understanding things and you guys are into the paranormal stuff, understanding things on a not white male patriarchy, like religious way. Yeah. If we look at things in a broader way, yeah, we can look at that we have been marginalized, right? Our brains are told that they're broken and this and this and this, but really we have really as a society and tribes, we have really important jobs. Our brains are very important to where the shamans and we're the people who are learning things and understanding things that other, people don't
innovators,
have.
the innovators.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're not the little workers. We're the people out there like coming up with something that you would have never thought of. So like,
and then some
Albert
of us are
Einstein,
the little workers though.
it's the Albert Einstein, it's the Tesla, Nikola Tesla. It's like, I mean, I'm not that, but I could be. But they definitely were a little neurospicy for sure. Yeah.
I remember like in elementary school, like it had to be middle school because it was like an actual project that we did, but like they were like, do a project. I think it was in one of my like special education classes. They were like, your diagnosis, look up like celebrities and do a project of like who has the same diagnosis as you, and then like research them and like their background and what they did to like overcome that kind of situation. And I remember like looking up like people that have dyslexia, and it's like Whoopi Goldberg and like all these like crazy celebrities. And I was like, this is like actually cool. Like it makes me feel like I'm not like just me. And then like
I love that.
Yeah, and then the stigma around dyslexia is like crazy. Like, and
it really is. How is that for you?
Like, and I feel like a lot of my friends like know not to say it around me, but like if I'm with somebody and they're like, oh, sorry, I can't read, I'm just like, I'm dyslexic, and I'm like, I'm looking at them and I'm like, that you shouldn't just like say that because you can't, like, you're struggling, like, oh, I have an issue with reading, like this is why I struggle. Like some people actually struggle with this issue. Like I'm the first one, I don't like just blurt out, this is my reason I'm struggling. I'm just saying, oh, I'm struggling, like give me a second. But like they use that like stigma of like around that. And they also
say,
like,
I'm a little OCD, or I'm a little ADHD, or I'm a little whatever.
Yeah.
I have a problem with people saying stupid or dumb because there's people in my life, little children's, and everyone has, I have the spectrum of my children are like that, but everyone has their strengths. So I have a hard time with that. When I hear people say those kinds of things, it's really hard for me.
And I also like, first thing they'll say is like, oh, you just flip around letters, right? I'm like, no. Like I was like, just Google it and then come back and I'll answer your questions. I'm like, because it's not anything like that at all. Like it's more of like processing words in your brain. Like I could go like, and it's the craziest thing sometimes, like during the day, I'll be like doing, like I'll be working, and then it'll be words that I've spelled 500 million times. And it's like a diagnosis, like a skin, like psoriasis. I could spell it one day perfectly fine. The next day I can't even, like I'll struggle to even read psoriasis. Like
then you're tired sometimes? Does that make,
like if I'm overstimulated or like tired, I didn't sleep well, or I didn't take my ADHD medication, so I'm distracted.
That's where self-care comes in. Totally.
Exactly. But like I'll notice like one day I'll be like, okay, I'm doing great with reading, and then some days I'm like, okay, I'm struggling even to like open my Kindle app and read because I'm like, my brain can't process the words that I'm looking at. And it's not like I flip them around.
What is it, like cognitive? Like you're just tired. Your brain has been working so hard. It's tired and needs.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely a day-to-day basis for me. Like it's not just one single thing. Like it's not like, oh, the words just jumble up in my brain like a Scrabble pieces. It's more of the fact like it's a processing disorder. So like you can't process even somebody talking to me. Like sometimes I'll be on this podcast and you guys will be talking and I can't process sometimes like what you're saying. Like I'll have to be like, hold on, like let me think about that for a second, because it's like taking a minute for like the words to get in order in my brain. And it's kind of
they're all processing stuff. That's interesting you say that, because that's very, very common with all types. Because auditory, I've talked about that auditory stuff. Like for me, it's huge. Like we were at the airport and they were asking me to do something, and I was like, I know they're saying it, but I can't do that right now. And I know what they're saying, it's like it becomes like the whole world gets really, really slow. And it's like just air.
It's like the Matrix.
And I'm like, well, I don't even know what they're saying, but I do. And then I've got my 2 kids here where it happens a lot. It happens in doctor's offices a lot. I'm finding, and it's getting more annoying as I get older.
I'm telling you, the best thing to do is be honest, at least with not even the doctor, but like the nurse that brings you back, because
I learned that. I just
that
learned
nurse, who is me, will do anything in their power to help you. And
I just learned that.
Yeah. Like they are there. Literally, they're called medical assistants for a reason. Like they will even come in and like scribe your office note if you needed to. Like you need someone to be in there and hold your hand. They will hold your hand. That's what their job is.
That's what I've learned, and I love hearing you say that. People need to hear what you just said, and that's really important, because I just went through having surgery and having difficulty with the doctor, but the nurse was able to help me. And then I had complications and I had to go in an ambulance, and the doctor was asking me all these questions while the guy was doing something. And I was like, I was like, I have to look at this, and kept asking me. And her face was just so bland. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm confused. And I started rambling off numbers. Like at this, I'm like, at 9:05, this is what happened. And this is what happened at this time. And it was like, and then she's like, you don't seem confused. And I was like, just my confusion and your confusion are different. But it took a minute. I totally became in tears. I was like, I need my boyfriend. I'm not talking to anybody because he gets it. And I went my whole life like that. Yeah. Your whole life, where everyone looks at you and asks you those things, and like you're talking about, where somebody's talking to you and your brain is just, and it's an invisible disability.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I like the most recent thing I saw was the sunflowers, where you can get lanyards and things. I love that. Like you can just have a little sunflower that not everybody understands what that means, but the people that need to know figure it out, and they know, okay.
Yeah.
Airports and where else.
Yep. That was
really I know cool. I do know about it because of the medical field.
Yeah.
And
so what is the sunflower? Also, what is it exactly? Because you're in the medical field and you saw it. What is that? How can that benefit everybody?
It's hard to explain right at this moment, but I can post. We can like get some information.
That's okay. Do that. How about that?
Yeah, because I'm like things. I know what it is. Like it's a trigger object because they've talked about it so many times. But like trying to get the words together to like spit it out to you. I just know that's like neurodivergent. Like it's like seeing the umbrella. Like it's like seeing like a rainbow flag. Like okay, LGBTQ community, like stuff like that. It's like it's a trigger object to think like okay, this person might need more help. It's also like when you see like with cancer patients, they have the ribbon like that, you automatically assume like pink ribbon, okay, breast cancer. Like it's like a trigger object to be like, okay, it just needs to be more out there. It needs to be
maybe that makes sense. Okay,
so
you explained it perfectly.
With this, it would be like, so autism has the infinity symbol or the puzzle piece,
which is a no.
I know.
But it's also known more than the infinity. And so
it is.
I'm an infinity person, but the puzzle piece.
Yeah, we have to explain it.
Yeah. But with the sunflower, it could be ADHD. It's not under the autism.
Okay.
Like, it's under the umbrella of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily, and it just means that you have a hidden disability. That, you know, like my son doesn't necessarily look like he is autistic.
Yeah, my daughter too.
But he is. Yeah. So that's kind of
or me.
thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. It triggers the person to ask. And like it also triggers someone to be like, okay, this is them telling me that it's okay for me to ask.
Yes.
So what I used to do.
Yeah. That's nice.
Like, and this is totally off the topic. I mean, it's the same kind of situation, but I worked in primary care for 5 years. So I saw a lot of like transgender people, people with different pronouns. So like they, them, she, her, he, him, stuff like that. So we would always have to ask like what your pronouns are, which is I always did anyways, but like it became like mandatory. Yeah. And what I did is I put a pin on my jacket that says my pronouns, which are he, she, her. That made somebody feel comfortable to be like, okay, well, my pronouns are they, them, or this, that, and the third, so that I can make them feel comfortable. Like, so that's what I guess they're trying to make the sunflower as like, okay, it's going to give somebody an option. Like instead of you having to bring it up to the doctor will say, okay, I see that you have this. What would you like me to know? And what can I notate in your chart saying? Because I know for a fact Epic is a huge EMR system that's used all across the country in different countries. Like, it's huge. And they have specific flags that they can put on charts to say, this patient has this, please do this. Like, your primary doctor can say, okay, this patient has ADHD. Please print out everything for this patient. Please,
That's me.
make sure, but you have to let your doctor know so for them to do it. They can't just know.
Yeah.
But you
Mine's
can
in
look
my
that
chart.
stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
Mine's
that's
in
really
my
good.
chart,
That's stuff you guys should talk about. This is a really, 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 really good topic. Really good topic.
So, I mean, if you could, it's amazing to know, like, what you don't know, that, like, because you never know the other side of the doctor's office. You only know yourself as a patient. Like, not like on the other side. Like, we don't know unless you tell us. I'm not going to automatically, unless I pick up stuff, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, okay, this person is autistic just by, like, their mannerisms, because you never know.
What are you doing?
Hi, bye.
I was like, I don't know.
I hear a human.
You know what? We have to pick up my daughter from school, so that's why he's going to go get her.
Okay.
Yeah. Go down to get her.
I forgot it's a different time difference.
Yeah, he has to go get her. She's in dance. And thank goodness he remembered. Because I obviously did not. No, I'm kidding. I would have, but I knew he was going, so it wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. I have alarms for my drop off and pick up for Jonas. Yeah.
I have all that. Oh my gosh. But now I'm just so used to them. So I check out. I'm like, what? Lasagna's burning. I don't hear it anymore.
Yeah.
Now I need like visual cues. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you're starting a new job this week?
Yes, Emily, talk about the new job.
Yeah, I started today. So I had my own cleaning company before COVID happened, and I was pregnant. I got pregnant at 42. Like, I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks before the shutdown, COVID shutdown.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was interesting to go through, and not knowing that I have autism, knowing that I am ADHD, but not knowing anything about the autism side of me. So that was a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot. And lots of doctor's appointments because I was geriatric. So I had all these doctors.
That's what they call it?
After 35.
Yep.
35 and up is geriatric
pregnancy. Yeah.
Whatever. I'm geriatric. Okay, whatever.
He was an accident. I actually didn't think I could have babies. So it was like, all of a sudden, surprise, here, you're pregnant. I'm like, and then shut down. Okay, COVID's happening and the world is burning. So.
Oh my gosh. And then and having a baby in that.
Yeah. And so I shut down my business. Eventually I went back and had one client, and I still have her. And I think I'll probably always have her, because shout out Anne, I love her so much. But I didn't start back up because of Jonas's special needs. Like, he didn't stay in school every day forever, all last year. Finally, he doesn't get sent home early every day. But it was like, I never knew if he was going to stay all day or half a day, or I would have to pick him up 15 minutes after we got off the bus. No idea. So I couldn't do anything. And of course, like, we don't have a lot of money, so I couldn't afford like daycare or having like a nanny or anything like that. So I just stayed home with him. And so this is my first like actual job, besides cleaning a couple of times, that I was like, all right, this is a good job for me. It's a co-working space. So what they're needing is like somebody for a couple of hours a day to sit in the office, greet people, get things cleaned up, make some coffee, whatever, do that stuff. And then also I'm going to be doing like social media, marketing, trying to get people to come out, event coordinating, like all those little things. So all the things that I kind of learned by doing paranormal things, I can pair with that. All the stuff that I taught myself because I didn't know it and nobody else was teaching me.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that's a good strength, is like, if I don't know it, I'll know it by the end of the week, you know?
Exactly.
Like,
but you have to want to, you have to want to.
I have to want to.
You manifested this job, though.
I did.
What?
I really did. I
She
manifested
manifested it.
Sorry, my daughter's
You're-
at school.
You're
Dave's
fine.
on his way.
When is he coming?
Right now. It was 5:05. This is momhood, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, you didn't let us know that. That's out of the schedule. He will be there at
Okay.
5 o'clock.
I thought you were picking me up.
No.
So I'll just talk to him.
Okay.
Bye. Love you.
Aw.
Aw.
She has the worst anxiety. Like, it's not
It's okay.
It's very, very, very disabling in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And learning that she's gifted, and then learning that she wasn't in person because it was so overwhelming because she has ADHD.
Yes.
And then to have a brain that's like a computer that's absorbing so much is very, very, very overwhelming. So she's
Yeah.
finally back in person.
Yeah.
And that took a lot. And she has a lot of support systems around her and a lot of stuff. And the teachers all know. And that's been a whole effort. So, now kids are having, like, all of her teachers are so cool about it. And she has her headphones and her this and her that. And she has a phone. So her calling and not freaking out right now is like, oh,
Yay.
yeah, big deal.
Yeah. Congratulations, baby. Yeah.
I know. She went to
World.
homecoming.
Oh.
And her friend wasn't able to go, so she showed up by herself and, like, took
Oh
her.
my God.
And then she met her friends there. I mean, you guys, I'm talking every single day. She would almost throw up every day of school. Like, that's why we had to be
Yes.
online for a couple of years. And then once we got to the spot, it was like every single day, and then it would be the minute in the morning, it was the transition. And then once she got there, she would be okay. And it's been little by little, but there was a lot of pressure to force her for a long time until finally I was like, that's where I come into this, like, look, I'm done apologizing to people about the way I parent,
Yes.
about the way I think,
Yes.
about the way I am, about the way my kids are, or whatever, because when I did finally start trusting myself and trusting things is when things started to go well.
Yeah.
And see, you're going, Emily, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this job. And it's actually all your awesome skills. Like, once you get to that point, and wouldn't it be nice if it was when we were younger, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your daughter's going to remember that. Like, especially, like, that's me remembering my dad, like, being that like support person for me. Like, he was the one that, like, went to the teachers, made sure I got that help, made sure I went to 3 eye doctors to figure out I'm not actually blind.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No, my kids both. My
Yeah.
kids both already are really, really,
Yeah.
really, really sweet about it.
Mhm.
And really, like, thank you, Mom. And even my 14-year-old is like, Mom, thank you. And she really does appreciate it. And,
Yeah, it's amazing.
very nice. And frankly, she doesn't even need me anymore because she's, like, basically an adult human being. Like, she's 14, but she could probably drive her car. She could probably drive a car. Like, she can basically do it.
Yeah.
She's like, Mom, you need to do these things for me so then I can take care of you. I'm like, wait, this is
14 going on 40.
oh yeah, that's what I say all the time. I'm like, forget 13 going on 30. I say that all the time. All the time. She's the one. So in some of my reels, my younger one is younger and she's like, Mom, I want to be on there. And I'm like, she's 12. Like,
I watched the one with you guys in the car. You guys were in the car. I think it was like one of your first reels. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one that's in one of them, she's in the very back, but the one that wears she has glasses on and she's the goofy one. Yeah. So she's my 14-year-old. And yeah, the other one is still younger. And I'm like, I feel like 14, you are literally, like, medically able to consent. So, and we talk about that, like, when she goes to therapy and stuff, I let her fill all of her stuff out and, cause she's 14, like, if she needs to understand what consent is all the way around. So she can consent to being online. And Delilah's still 12. I'm like, she can say she wants that, but Brooklyn even wanted it when she was 12. And she's like, Mom, thank you for making me wait, because they're still kids. They're still kids. Even though our house is really, really funny and it would be very funny to watch. Let me tell you, I still feel like she's kind of young.
Yeah, definitely. I get that because I feel like there's so much, like, aspect about, like, even just, like, hateful comments and stuff. Like, you need to be.
I don't want anyone. Yeah, I'll go
brain chemistry, like, to be able to be like, okay, this is a human behind a screen, like, and even, like, I'm 27 years old, and I still, like, if somebody said something hateful to me, it's gonna hurt. Like, but at least at 27, I have that brain chemistry to be like, okay, this is the person behind the screen. They can't get me. Like, I just have to let it roll off my back, stuff like that. But like at 12, I feel like you don't have that, like, cognitive, like,
even at 14. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even at
no.
14, the same thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
She's 12. Not that she would even be able to access that stuff, but when
No.
there was like my first troll online or whatever who was like, said something, and I looked at it and I was like, this is like, no one's ever going to remember you. I was like, well, obviously you're going to remember me because you just sent a message to me. Like, you're obviously, I'm making some sort of impression. So, but here's the thing. I went onto his page and I was like, ew, he's like some army with guns everywhere and whatever. I'm like, this is some probably 14-year-old troll boy who, whatever, or whoever, whatever. So my mom's sending me messages. I'm like, I just don't even, just block people. But when you're 12, you don't know that.
Mhm.
And Brooklyn has said, Mom, I'm so glad I didn't go to junior high. Like, now I know who I am. Like, cause I had manifested that. I had the worst time in school. I was relentlessly teased. It was so bad. I had to be switched from schools so many times. So I said, I'm not going to do that to them, because that time and all her friends who were in junior high, that is so rough. It's so rough. It's like, it's so rough. We're just developing. And so I'm thankful that, so yes, 12 is too early.
So, what would you, April, tell yourself, like, if you could go back in time and like at like a 20-year-old self, like before like this whole diagnosis and before like kids even, like, what would you tell yourself? Like, even when like your anxiety is too much, like what are some wise words you would give to yourself to kind of make yourself like even feel better or like feel more comfortable in yourself? Like, what would you, if you could?
Well, I already do this now, but I think it would have been really important to truly and fully understand when I was younger is tomorrow's another day.
Okay.
Like, tomorrow is another day, and you can feel totally different. Like, I said to my boyfriend earlier, I was like, I don't feel very productive today. And he's like, and then I listed out everything I did, and I was like, well, I was way more productive than a lot of, like, I have a certain standard. And some days you don't feel good, but the next day you feel different. Like, tomorrow really is a different day. Like, the days, you know, and that things do get better and things do change. And for me, I was really hard on myself. Really, really, really hard on myself. So I think that the thing I remember all the time is like that I need to go easy on myself still, and that tomorrow's a different day.
Yeah.
Even this evening could be different. You know what I mean? Moment to moment, like, really, but being present is hard. But yeah, I would say, and that's a big one for me, is that, you know, that saying of, you know, it gets better. Like, nothing is permanent, you know? And I tell my kids that, like, unless somebody's died, like, you killed, nothing's really permanent. Like, unless somebody's been hurt, things can be worked out. And tomorrow's a different day.
Yeah.
Obviously, be very patient with myself. It's a practice.
Yeah, I always say give yourself grace.
Yep.
I say that a lot. I'll even say it in my head, I'm like, Kelsey, give yourself grace. Because everyone deserves grace. Like, everyone deserves it. Like, absolutely. You deserve it. Especially with like everything, like, you don't ever know what somebody's going through. So like, it's give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Like, give somebody grace. I mean, yes, like, sometimes you can't give them too much grace because then they're going to take advantage of it. But like, most of the time, like, you don't know what's going on in that person's life. And like, one person can be going through this, like, you don't know what's going on at home, or like, you don't know what, like, this person is mentally going through, because like, especially like having ADHD, and like, I know for a fact that like that triggers my, like, being overstimulated. Sorry, there was a bug flying in front of my face. Being overstimulated like automatically triggers my anxiety. And then I'm like automatically get like sick to my stomach and this, that, and the third. And, like, overwhelmed. And then I'm like, okay, like, people are probably thinking I'm freaking out when I'm actually just overstimulated. And like, nobody knows this because I can't verbalize it. Like, it's hard to verbalize it. Do you guys struggle with that too? To like get it out?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm noticing, just because I'm like getting older and being more aware of it, is I didn't realize, and it's part of the human design stuff that I'm understanding, is that when I'm in anger, I'm not in authenticity. I'm not living in the space that my body is meant to,
Mhm.
the way my mind is meant to when I'm in anger or frustration. And I'm not like so anger often is my go-to when I'm overstimulated or something. And, you know, and my children, I can even do it with them. It's like too many questions and I'm like, and then there's light over there and all this stuff happens.
Yeah.
And then I'm angry and I'm frustrated. And then I'm like, I don't even know if I peed today or I drank water today or did I eat? Because I don't remember if I did any of those things, but gosh, darn it, I got that reel out. Like I'm doing what I can do. But like, we're just like functioning, right? But I do know that being overstimulated in sensory stuff is the biggest problem. And maybe that's why I go back to like, you know, you said give grace or like everything tomorrow is different. Because sometimes those sensitivities that I'm having are different the next day. They're not as much. They're not this or they're not that. And when you don't, what is it? Like you don't respect your sensitivities is when it's like when you don't give yourself grace for your sensitivities. You're overwhelmed. That's when it's bad. That's when it's hardest, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Like I've noticed like I have to like body double when I go to like a grocery store. Cause like I know that like the grocery store is like my biggest like
target.
And even like shopping in general, I have to body double like with like and you know what body doubling you mean you bring something with like because if I don't I will like be overstimulated. I will forget everything that I need.
Yes.
And then
I'm the opposite. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Or I'll just get overwhelmed and I'll leave.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the opposite.
Oh my
gosh, that's so funny.
Like I need to have someone with me. Like and it's always my safe person. Like I have like one or two people that I know are like my safe people that I can be like, okay, I'll literally text them and be like, hey, I need to go shopping. And they know exactly why I'm texting them and they'll just come with me. And they'll be like, you have your list. We're going to do this. Like, keep me on track because like, I know for a fact, like I will get overstimulated and I will freak out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice to have friends that do that.
My mama is the one that goes with me because she doesn't like shopping either. So we do it for each other together. It's so funny. Yeah.
Shout out to Karen.
Shout out Karen.
I absolutely hate shopping, like clothes, all that. I don't like it at all. And if I do shop, I don't want anyone with me. I'm so overwhelmed.
Okay, so you like to do it yourself.
Yeah, and I'm just like really because I really absorb other people's energy. So for instance, my daughter, she is autistic also, and like when she's in her like spot that could be a tension spot, I like absorb it and feel it, and then it creates this thing, and then we're both like this, and I'm having to go, okay, take a deep breath. I'm the adult. Sometimes I don't want to be the adult, but I have to say, take a deep breath and go, how am I going to communicate this? How are we going to communicate that or whatever? And when I'm at Target, and that's one of the ways I discovered, I was like, this is not typical. Like when we went through COVID, those were the little things that started reminding me and go, wait a second, I have a mask on and I can't breathe and this and that. Why is my autistic daughter and my ADHD daughter, they're fine. Like we're at Target and they've got masks and I'm like, I have to go. And I'm like leaving things or there's a lot going on. I'm like, it's too loud. I have to leave. And I'm like, and they're getting the support they need, but we didn't, right?
Yeah.
You're neglecting
so I don't
yourself.
know how to function. I don't know how to manage that stuff as I get older.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'm the one who's having meltdowns in Target, but my kids are fine. Like something's up here. Like what is happening? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? That's when I was like, I need to start figuring this out because they don't have it. I mean, you can't have ABA for adults. That's why I've been starting to go into that, looking into human design because I'm like, how can I find a way to understand my behaviors, the antecedent to my behaviors, and how can I structure my life in a way that is more positive and easy and peaceful.
Yeah. I think they word it differently. Instead of it being like an ABA therapist, I feel like I've seen a couple of these pop up on like the NeuroSpicy Table Instagram. Is like it's like an ADHD coach. like they coach you, like they're calling themselves like a coach.
What if you have, but if you're autistic,
But you still have
it's
to
very
pay.
different. So you'd have
It
like a
is.
sensory or an OT coach. You'd have to have like an occupational therapy coach or whatever.
Yeah, but like I think like I've noticed them popping up. Like I like a couple people have followed me on the table,
Yeah.
like saying like I'm an ADHD coach, but like you have to pay astronomical prices to just get somebody to help me. Like I mean, like that's why I'm so open about it on here. Like telling people what helps me, maybe it can help you, because like I don't like. I know I can't afford to have a coach.
Well, you know, they have, for instance, one of the things because I'm looking at, I'm like, well, I have a lot of skills. You got to figure out what to do with your skills, right? So I'm very obsessed with social media and courses and this and this and this. And I've like really gotten into it. And there are, for instance, the human design thing, it's accessible. It's like, okay, I can learn and adjust myself. And there are ways where it's like, you don't have to have somebody all the time, but you can do like a course on executive functioning, and you could probably find one and instead of trying to figure it out on Etsy by myself, you know, you're like, whenever I see these things that are like, here's the calendar to fix your life, I'm like, okay, well, but then I'd have to implement that calendar, and that's not going to happen.
Right.
I'm currently
so
like
who's
looking
gonna hold my
at
hand
my
for that
calendar,
right? But there are things where they have, instead of you doing like a coach who you see and it's like $500 and you there are things online, which is what I've been soaked into, is finding ways to make adjustments. For instance, this human design one, I'm like, okay, it was $40 and I'm just going to just get super into it. And it makes more sense than anything. It makes so much sense.
Right?
Yeah.
I love human design. I love it. It's
I'm going in a deep dive, girl. I'm going in deep. What?
Can somebody, I couldn't tell you what human design is if you asked me. Can somebody explain to me what like a quick like synopsis of what human design is and why it's so interesting and stuff like that?
So human design is basically astrology plus for the person, and basically like when you were born and all these different like cool things all added up into like this one big bubble of like who you are as a person. And it's very telling when you go through it and you plug in all your stuff and you get your chart and you're like, whoa, like, wow, that's crazy.
Well, it goes down to the energy, like when you look at things like down to your DNA is energy, frequency, sound is energy, you know, and then you look at the entire universe, right, is all made up of stardust and energy. So really we are a piece of that. So it goes into that. And it also encompasses a little bit of like, a bunch of different religions. It's not just like, oh, this one little thing. It's a little bit of everything, and it's a science, but not a science. But but when you get into it, you're like, this actually makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And if you can find ways to implement it, it's a way as an adult who's neurodivergent and didn't get any support growing up.
Right.
Like today, I was like, wait a second, my space where I like, you know, overworking myself is going to lead to burnout, and that's not living in my authentic self, right? So then when you go, okay, I have to trust my intuition, when you learn these things about yourself and you go, well, even if it's just made up in my own head, that's what manifesting really is. It means to make happen, right?
Yeah.
So even if it's pretend, it works because you pretended until it worked.
Yeah.
Right?
Is
for
that
me,
like,
oh, sorry.
me being like a sensitive, like it's like me being sensitive, like I can like it's like kind of like that, like I feel like people have told me like I'm very like I can feel people's emotions, and like sometimes I do take it into myself.
Has a lot to do with it. Yeah.
Like I'm a big, like if Emily tells you all the time, like, okay, you just stop, like you need to like be able to put a block up, because sometimes like you're too much of taking people's emotions, especially being in the medical field. Like I feel like I take some stuff home. Like I'll be like,
you can totally suck it in. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now I get it.
Part of it too is your aura and things like that. So you should send her over. Okay, you should send over. You have the thing.
Oh, nope.
Okay, so Kelsey, I'll send you a link to where you put in your information, and then I'll tell you, and then I'll read it for you, because of course this is the way I work, because I'm like, now I'm obsessed. So she's like, she's a
Okay.
generator. Like, so that was the joke. Okay, yeah, there's that one, and there's another one that gives even more detail.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've been reading, and even today I spend like an hour a day when I want to learn something new. So it's really super fascinating. And I love that you just said, like, okay, there's ADHD coaches and these things, but who can afford that? It's so true, right? Who can afford that? But there are ways. That's where I'm coming into, like, going, okay, there are ways that we can all have access to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with neurodivergent people, because there's a bunch of information that goes into it. And it'll help explain it too.
It does.
Yeah. And we can link all this stuff, like, after this podcast. Like, we'll get all this information that we just
perfect.
unloaded, and we can link it somewhere, either on like a Facebook or like a link. And we share it, April, because like you obviously have a lot of the information too. That would be awesome to like compile the stuff we talked about today and being able to.
See, that's so I'm a manifester, right? So I'm here to inform, and I'm here to like, it's like, that's what I'm learning is it's like, and there's only 9. I'm like, why have I always been this way? Well, because it's like, when you look at neurodivergent people, it's like, oh, they have ADHD, they don't follow through. Well, actually, as a manifestor, my energy, my body, the way that I am made, my energy and down to the molecules is made is to generate ideas, to inform, but manifesting generators are the ones who go and carry it out, right? So maybe that's why I have ideas. It's why I work really well. Like, for instance, I help, so my friend has the nonprofit that I help her with. So she's so good at collaboration, and she's created this amazing, nonprofit. And I am able to help with things like I went and did an interview, and we interviewed and I spoke for what they want. She told me everything she wanted me to say, and I went out and, did it for her because that's kind of what I do. And everyone has their different skills, right? So, and that's her skills. So you find people you work well with, like the 3 of you guys probably all have some sort of really cool energy that works, and you guys all collaborate well together, and look what you're creating.
Yeah,
I know. It's so funny how we got here. Like, it was so quick. We were like, oh, let's do the podcast, and like 2 days later we were like, all right, Monday, and we're like, oh, okay.
I got our first guest. Yeah, like it was like boom, 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 boom. Here we are.
Yeah, and
so,
it's been amazing ever since.
Yeah.
And I'm so
you got to do the human design chart to see where you guys all are, because within the like house or tribe or working space, right? Each one of you has a job that is actually cohesively working.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
I want to give a shout out to, I don't know if you know her, but P, like PEA, P the Fairy. She is a person that does human design. She knows really a lot. She does a lot of human design. That's how I learned about it. So she does that, and then she also will do charts and things for people. Like, that's her bread and butter. That's what she does for a living. And there's a ton of YouTube stuff out there, so you can find stuff for free. And then if you want to dig into more of it, they have those courses. That's
what I'm doing right now. I'm in the middle of one. Yeah, like becoming like a reader, like reading charts. That's what I'm doing. And so I'm like in the beginning and looking at the whole thing, and it's mind blowing.
It really is. And so for me, I'm a cycle person. So I have cycles. There'll be a cycle when I'm more productive, and then I have to go in, and then it just keeps going back around. So I have to lean into those moments when I can be as productive as possible, and give myself the grace that if I can't do it today, I'm going to have to do it again another time. So I find that fascinating, and did
it help you? But that's the question. Helpful. Did it help you?
So helpful. I'm
telling you, I was supposed to hear this because I heard it. It made sense to me. And of course, special interest, I'm going deep. I mean, I'm like already so deep into it. I'm like, because I really want to show as many people as possible to be authentic. Because that's one thing my friends are always, that's one thing I have never hidden. Okay. I will tell you that right now. I may mask a lot of things, but I have never hidden, like, everybody is like, that one's a quirky one. Like, that one's an interesting, like, that is a very, very, common thing my whole life is and I've never hidden it, and I've never felt like I need to. And so I hope everyone can do that.
Yeah.
When they feel
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, like people will surprise you.
Yeah.
People will definitely surprise you because you don't know what weird thing that they have going on. So, my mom's always like, I think personally, I think diagnosis is important. And I think I want to be diagnosed, but I don't have the capabilities to be diagnosed right now. But I think having the labels that for us is so amazing because we can say, okay, that's us. And I know what to do with this now.
This is my tribe. This is where I fit.
Before I felt like a weirdo that didn't fit in anywhere and there was no one else like me. And maybe I'm an alien, but and I shouldn't be on this earth, like I don't feel like a human. So, and now I do. And now I found, and the more that you accept that is the more people you find.
Yeah.
So
how did you get to that though? How did you get to where you were like, okay, was it like that? Like learning through like human, like just starting to really go down, even when you talk about the paranormal stuff, is it just being open, being open?
Yeah. And I never really had I had a lot of friends, but not ever like friends. And now having the paranormal world open up for me and, having neurodivergence. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, I finally feel like I am accepted for who I am. Like people are like, I love you. Oh, we love Emily. And I'm like, you do?
Yeah.
Like, really? Why?
It's
because
that
you're
like
living in your authenticity. Like that's what you like. People light up around people who are living in that, that's so super cool.
The one thing that I noticed, especially about Emily, is like she's like a person that connects people. Like we literally call it like, what is it, like 7 degrees of Emily Bacon?
6 degrees of Emily Bacon.
6 degrees of Emily Bacon, because she'll know someone. Like me and Morgan, there was probably like, I mean, unless we went to another paranormal event together, like I met Emily through like we were literally walking past each other at a fort, like a paranormal thing, and she said, I like my aunt's shirt. She commented on my aunt's shirt. Instant friends. And then ever since, it's like snowballed into this. She introduced me to all these new people. So now I'm friends with Morgan, and like now I'm opened up, like it's opened my eyes to like, I thought I was like, I mean, I knew I wasn't the only person that had ADHD, and I knew I wasn't the only person that was that dyslexic, but like knowing that like I could be like open to someone, like I've talked to Emily and Morgan about this because I know they understand. Yeah, and it's like we're all in a different parts of life. Like we're totally like on different spectrum of age. Like even like you would have never expected. But like I can go to Morgan or Emily and be like, I'm having a really hard day. Like talk to me about something. It doesn't even have to be about my hard day, and like distract me from like what's going on. And like it's crazy to like much I've opened my eyes to like even just the being neurodivergent. Like I never knew like it could be this great. Like I've never been this happy actually.
You know what, you guys, I'm seeing this is one of the things because I've been so deep into this, and I'm watching what I'm watching with you guys is often people who are neurodivergent, because our brains are different. We have these experiences like you're talking about, Emily, and you're talking about Kelsey. But then when you find your people, like, and I only have a few, I'm not a big group, but I have a few, and I don't want them in energy, whatever, all the time, and they're everything. But here's the thing. We are as a people, we do want our tribe. We do want to connect, but we need to connect in ways that we're comfortable with. And that's one thing with women is we've been putting too much that from the world. But then when we find other women who are too much also, it's like, oh, I can breathe because you found your tribe. And that's so super cool. One of my kids, I can hear my garage. My kid's going to come running up the stairs, and it's going to get crazy here in a minute.
Well, we can let you go.
Sorry, my office space is closed off here. She'll probably run upstairs. Hi, yes. Hold on 1 second, because this is live. What's up? It's okay. What?
Nothing. I just have fun.
Yay!
Okay.
We're proud of you.
You're welcome.
I told her this morning, I was like, is it okay if I talk about it? She's like, I don't care. She's very like blunt and like, but
Yeah.
she's like, I don't care. She's like, fine. I was like, okay, well, we have different last names. Isn't it like your friends at school are gonna whatever? She's like, I don't care. I'm like, okay, because she hopefully I've taught her something, and my way of just being is she really is like, if you don't like me, you don't like me. Like if you don't this,
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. My other daughter's like that too.
I love that she's hit that before 40, because for me it was 40 kind of was like, okay, my give a fucks went way low. Like I was like, don't care.
She already is there, girl. She's already there.
I love that. I wish I had that.
I know. She has these ratty old Converse, and they are like, her feet were growing forever. I know. They're over a year old. I bought her new ones. Her friend at school was like, why are you wearing those? She's like, because these ones are comfortable. I have new ones, and they're stiff, and I like these. Plus, I embroidered them, and plus, I like these. She wore them to homecoming.
Yeah, I used to wear my Converse, so my toe used to pop out the front. Like I'm the same way.
Oh my gosh.
But to end off on a strong suit, I'm so thankful for you coming on. I feel like you coming into like just on my page, and it was my personal page. It wasn't even.
It was. Oh,
I saw you on my personal page, and I specifically like copied your name and went on the NeuroSpicy Table.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to message her like right now. Like I love her posts. Like yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
It came up on just scrolling on Reels. Like, and I was
that's the thing, because I've been so obsessed with social media. I know how to, so I like, even though my page hasn't grown as quickly as other people's, which is fine. I'm okay with that. My real views, like the views are pretty high, and they're pretty high for like non-followers, right? I can totally go down a hole with this. But okay. So, and that's fine. So people like you are seeing it, and that is so super cool, because that's what I want. That's so fun. I love that. That makes me really happy.
We should definitely collab in the future, because I just love your energy.
And I know my friend who is a sound healer, and then my other friend who does, there's all these different people, and I love I love connecting people, because here in South Bay, so where I live, there's a bunch of different, like there's a place called, Friendship Foundation. Right now they're doing Skechers Walk, which is like they get money together to then provide, after school programs. Or for instance, my friends, Long Beach, LBC Hero Squad, they create community events, and I love helping out with that and like connecting them with people and getting their information out. And so I'm going to start doing reels for them, like all their stuff. Like they do a sensory Sunday mixer. They do, she does. And what they do is they put these on for the events, and they put them on for the school. So like once a month, the kids all get together, and families get together, and they get to go jump on the trampolines and just be comfortable, or go out to dinner. And everyone goes to dinner, and their kids can bring all their stuffed animals and all their stuff and line it up and do whatever they want and order how they want and just be themselves.
Yes.
And it's so like, we forget that. Like we forget that they're, and that's so nice when we can go there, and my daughter's like getting up and getting down and going around, and kids are just doing whatever they want. So I love connecting all of that. So yes, definitely whatever you guys are doing, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. And yes, as far as like, I'm so excited that it was on your page, and it was just a random reel, which one wasn't. You're like, who is this kooky girl?
I wonder, because hold on, now I'm going to go look. I think I saved it, actually. Ooh. Like I clicked the save button, because I do that on Instagram all the time. I have like 10 different things, and I have a NeuroSpicy like on my personal account. So then if I have to if I like something and I want to save it, so let me see. Hold on, I'm gonna.
And then you're able to go back in and see who you want to go on to your.
And you were one of the first people I messaged too. Like, hey, like I really like your content. Like, just praying that they get my message, because some people don't. Like, they have that. Like, they have to accept your message.
I don't have that, because I want you can go into a request folder. There's 3 sections. So it goes into that. People just need to be able to look at it. And I need to see what your paranormal podcast is on there.
It's only Ghosts in the Building.
Only ghosts
Yeah.
in the building. Yeah, I'm serious. I can see that the whole hill. It's right off our street.
That's awesome.
April, why don't you talk about how people can follow you, like where
Yes,
where
please.
your content is?
Okay,
Plug
well, right
yourself.
now I'm just on the one platform. I do have something on Facebook, but only so things can kind of like, you have to do that. Like the sun is coming in over here because it's now 4:30 or 5 o'clock. Atypically April on Instagram. It's atypically period or dot or whatever you want to say. April.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just right now I'm just posting stuff and having fun, and I like to just be as visible and aware and show people.
It was
you know,
this
like
one.
you said.
It was your boba one. You were drinking
Oh
boba.
wow, yeah,
Yep.
that one. Oh my god, I love it. And what's funny is though that one didn't even get that many much stuff, but that's the thing. Like you just want to reach. I love that reached you. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's so fun. I love that.
Yeah, that was the one I saw, and I was like, follow.
Yes, please follow my page. Follow me. I'm
Yes.
in the, I like to promote other people's stuff. That's one of the things I really like to do. And obviously social media is a huge special interest. And now I'm getting into the human design and just I want to find a way, like when I just heard those things from you, I want those resources. I need that help. But who can spend that much money on whatever?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Where I'm in the process of creating something that will be accessible to people
Yeah.
so that they can
Amazing.
learn about themselves and grow and not have to spend millions of dollars, but still have access to that. From all of the
Exactly.
knowledge I have with helping my daughters, helping myself,
Yeah.
this isn't a new thing, being neurodivergent and being, as far as the autism assessment, yes, but the rest of it is this has been my life. So
Yeah.
I want to bring that out to people. So thank you guys for having me.
Yes.
It's so fun.
Yeah,
Yes, don't jump off right away.
We'll talk. But when you get the human design stuff up, like let's come back on and talk about that. We'll have a whole episode just about that. That'd be so cool.
That would be so amazing because I'm literally in the middle of like getting so into it because I really think there's a huge connection and a huge thing.
So connect.
Yeah, and people don't need. You can be self-diagnosed and still be able to access. And I want to, so I'm going to start putting a lot more of my content out that way.
We'll plan ahead so that like me and Emily, because me and Emily live close to each other, so like we'll plan ahead to where me and Emily will go to the room, so we'll only be in one block to make it a little easier for you. So when we have
and I'll do it where my office will be put together by then.
Yeah,
so
we'll plan ahead, definitely. But all right, well, bye everyone. Thank you.
You guys, thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Bye. We love you so much.
That was great. Thank you.
And